Randy Cramer is a stolen valor fraud. What does that mean? A stolen valor fraud is someone who claims that they were a member of the United States military, but were never actually members of the military. It's a very common thing. And Randy Cramer has at various times claimed to be an active duty United States Marine Corps member and also a Navy SEAL at one point. All of those claims are 100% false. A search for his military records at the National Personnel Record Center turned up nothing. Now, Randy's supporters will say that's because he's working on secret missions and give all these other excuses. That's garbage. Regardless of someone working in secret projects or USAPs, their military service records would be recoverable at the National Personnel Record Center. They have no record of him ever joining the Marines. They have no record of him ever being a Navy SEAL. Further, there is very good records kept of everyone that has ever passed Navy SEAL training and become a Navy SEAL. That list is available and public. Randy Cramer is not on that list. He lied both about being a Navy SEAL and about being a United States Marine Corps member. He used the legitimacy of a former or current Marine or Navy SEAL to sell this MEDBED scam, in which he essentially claimed that while fighting aliens on Mars in the secret space program, he had his limbs, his arms and legs blown off and regrown many times, so many times it became routine. And he knew the secrets of this MEDBED technology, and he would bring it to the world. And this incredible MEDBED technology can cure anything: cancer, leukemia, Parkinson's disease, paralysis. Randy Cramer, in one interview, even claimed that his MEDBED technology could cure mental illness, autism, and mental retardation in children. This is disgusting, deplorable, and reprehensible. And the claims that he made during his MEDBED scam days are laughable. Randy Cramer is on to new scams, but I think it's important that we don't forget his last scam, this MEDBED scam. I have compiled clips of him talking about this MEDBED technology, promoting it while he was running the GoFundMe. The GoFundMe has since been taken down because it was a scam. Depending on who you ask, Randy Cramer apparently generated $10,000 or as much as $70,000, if we are to believe the claims of a person on YouTube who claimed they gave 50 or 60,000 US dollars to Randy Cramer for this MEDBED scam. I think it's important that we remember that these are public appearances and claims that Randy Cramer made while he was promoting this MEDBED scam. Also, I just want to take a moment to apologize for the disgustingly terrible audio quality of these clips. I did my best I could to clean it up, but apparently the man who's going to cure cancer, beat human aging, and let 85-year-old people age regress back to 21, regrow limbs, and create world-changing medical technology, apparently he only has access to a microphone from Five Below. Somehow he's using a $10 microphone while begging people for millions of dollars to cure everything that ails the world, every disease, paralysis, people losing limbs, even curing aging. But somehow he can only afford a $10 microphone. So let's take a look at Randy Cramer's MEDBED scam pitch.
After my 17 years in the MDF, on the ground, in the red sand, killing, dying, getting blown up, getting rebuilt again, we have these really cool medically, these holographic regenerating medical beds. So cool. Right? They make every other medical technology you have ever heard of dark ages obsolete. Dark ages obsolete.
Yeah, the holographic regenerating medical bed, major technology that we use because it just fixes everything. And especially when you're talking about where you're having to deal with massive tissue damage and regeneration and so forth. You know, you can't just inject a serum into somebody's arm to grow back their hand and so forth and to restore a liver that's been blown out. So pretty much the holographic regenerating medical beds was the only thing that, you know, could keep people together fast enough and quick enough.
And especially what I'm really excited about is the medical regenerating med beds, which can regrow limbs and restore damaged organs, etc. The holographic regenerating medical bed technology is probably one of the most amazing technologies I've ever seen or heard of. And certainly for me to be standing here with body parts that have been ripped apart and blown off so many times is miraculous, a miracle of science in and of itself, I would have to say. And my favorite part about this technology is that we now understand that we have the basic components on planet Earth in the civilian world to start putting this technology together. So essentially the two main components of this technology are a computer that has the ability to have a genetic code entered into it and be able to create a virtual model of that person based on that genetic code. The other component that you need, main component, is a holographic projector, essentially the lensing that projects a holograph, a three-dimensional holographic light image. You need that. Now there are some other components to the technology that we used on Mars that way more advanced than the first kind of things that we're going to be able to build here for sure. Generating technology, the medical regeneration bed technology, which I've talked quite a bit about. The answer to whether this technology is recreatable is yes. The answer further is it will take some time to refine the components of the technology to the resolution that we need to be able to do that.
I have some medical engineers. We're working on this problem. Okay, we're working on building a working model of one of these things. Okay, so we're working on this. This isn't just a thing that we got to experience. This turns out to be a thing that I know how to replicate. It'll take a little while. It's going to take a little fun. It's going to take a little money. You don't worry about that. I don't need your money for that. I've got that money coming from somewhere else. All right, but you know. We're going to sort that out.
Okay, so the main components that you need are computer software that you can put a DNA code and build a virtual model of, and the holographic lens projecting technology that you can project this image, essentially this three-dimensional image of this genetic code of this person out through the holographic projector. That's basically the rocket science behind this.
This is how this works, because it turns out that two essential pieces of technology are involved that we now have. So basically what you need is a computer program, you need software that can lay out a genetic code, all the TGACs, and then build a virtual model. All right? So basically you put that in, you put the DNA into the computer, but once you put that information into the computer, it will build a virtual model, a little CGI person, right? That looks like what that genetic code looks like. Now, a bunch of smarty scientists from some smarty university that is escaping me at the moment, I want to say it was like some Cambridge, Stanford guys or whatever, I don't know, some of those smart guys. 2 summers ago, they come out and they've got this software, you can put the DNA code in and you get a rudimentary sort of CGI person that it builds. They can do whatever they want with that technology. I'm just stoked they made it because I'm going to appropriate it and use it for what I need to use it for, because I need that same software. The difference that I need that software for and what I need that software to do is have cellular resolution, right? We need that like CGI image to be able to sort of define resolution down to the cellular level. That's the first thing. Now the other thing we need is a holographic lens that projects a hologram. We got those. We got good ones. The Michael Jackson hologram, you know, was it Grammys or something like that? That was a pretty good one. It was not bad, right? Holograms now, not bad. Now all we need is that lens to be able to project an image, a holographic image, that also has cellular resolution. All right? So if you have the DNA code that can then project a CGI image that's cellular resolution, then use that holographic projector to project that image, that CGI image that you just made to the cellular resolution level, you can now project the human body to the cellular level over another person's body.
So if you project that holographic arm over, let's say, a stumpy arm that's been blown off, what normally when your cells reach air and they go, oh, we can't go anymore, now they're fooled by this holographic arm and they go, oh, let's keep growing. And that's how you can regrow a limb, is by essentially projecting that holographic arm, which kind of acts as a splint, if you will, or for the cells to just keep growing. And they go, oh yeah, let's just keep going, and there's more arm until you grow back the whole arm. It also has the ability, when you have damaged cells, they want, this is a very interesting concept, but they want to conform to that orderly pattern. So they actually will want to regenerate and restore themselves based on that harmonic, healthy pattern from the damage pattern. And that's how you have this ability to do completely non-invasive, no drugs, no surgery, reconstruction of organs, limbs, etc. So the two pieces of technology, we have those now as a civilian population. We have the holographic projector, and just last summer, a science team at a couple different universities managed to put together, not necessarily for the purposes that we want, but it doesn't matter, they developed the technology anyway, developed the computer software that you put in the genetic code, and you get a very basic building model of what that person looks like or would look like. If the technology itself, that's what we needed. We needed that technology.
Harmonic frequency resonance. The cells of your body in which if you look, and you're taking this example that's a perfect example, right? It's your pure genetic code. So let's say you create a holographic projection of your liver. It's going to be perfect. It's going to be healthy. It's going to be as if it was never damaged, because it's going to be the perfect blueprint from your DNA code. So the holographic image of that will be an undamaged, perfect, never used liver. Now let's say you're a drinker. Maybe your actual liver not doing so good, okay? Or maybe any other reasons. I mean, you could not be a drinker and not have liver failure, right? But your organs can go bad for any reason. But if you project that perfect image over a damaged organ, dominant harmonic frequency resonance means that that organ is going to want to conform to the perfect projection. So over a period of time, those cells are just going to want to look like those healthy cells, and they're just going to change. The cell, the very raw cellular structure matching up with this image, perfect image, just wants to conform to that shape, because it's a slightly solid light form being a hologram. It's a sort of three-dimensional semi-solid light source that the cell can pattern against and wants to be like.
Two things that we need to do with both of these technologies to then have this holographic refrigerating technology that we want is actually very simple. It is to increase the resolution of both of these technologies to the cellular level. So when we have the ability to take this software and tell that genetic code to print us out a virtual image of, just like, we don't have to get the whole body, let's just say we want a finger, but down to the cellular level of that finger. And then if we can get the holographic projector to be able to, again, it doesn't have to be able to project the entire distance of the whole body, but to be able to project a 3x3 area of a resolution that's down to that cellular level. Okay, now we've got the components that we can regrow somebody's finger. And that is the door into this technology, is that cellular resolution levels. Now you can regrow a finger. Now you can slowly regrow, the parts of someone's arm, because you can project the part of the arm that needs to be in front of the cell growth and allow the cell growth to slowly, match up to the holographic projection and be able to regrow limbs. A holographic dominant harmonic frequency sort of process where you project a perfect image. Say, my arm is damaged, it's been burnt, 3rd degree, and we project a perfect image of, my arm holographically down to the cellular level. Eventually this arm will just heal itself. It will just want to go, oh, those are the cells that we actually want to look like, and it'll fix itself. And if my arm gets blown off right here, and I don't have a hand, normally when your cells reach the air, they go, oh, we can't grow anymore. Well, if you project a perfect image down to the cellular level of that hand of your arm, the cells hit the holographic projection and go, oh, we can keep growing. And it essentially fools the cells into just keep going and going all the way down to your fingertips until you've completely regrown the damaged limb.
The second thing that it does is, let's say I get my arm blown off right at my elbow, which I have had a number of times, more than I can count, right? Just more times than I can count. More times than I can count, waking up going, oh, which part of me got blown off this time, right? It's not too much fun, but you don't feel it most of the time either. So I can't really say that most often the times that I had body parts blown off that I suffered a lot, because most of the time I didn't hardly feel it at all. Or, you know, you get blown apart, you lose consciousness. Pain stops, you know, when you lose consciousness. But let us just say I get my arm blown off, cut off, right here at the elbow. Now, if I project a holographic image of this arm past this elbow, connecting up to this elbow, normally what happens, the reason your cells stop growing is they hit air, they hit oxygen, they go, no more arm, we got to stop right here, arm's gone, it's not there. Well, this fools the cells into thinking that the arm is still there. So they're just going to keep going, all the way down to the fingertips. Now, we had a holographic regenerating MEDBED that could do that in a matter of hours. About 4 hours. Wow. Right? Arm blown off at 10 a.m., you're cleared to go back to duty by dinner time. Okay? Yeah, no days off. No days off. You gotta get a few limbs blown off, and then you ask that, you know, when you come to, one of the first things I would always remember to ask is how long am I gonna be here for? You know, like, when I get blown off, and they'll just be like, you know, you'll be out of here by this afternoon. Well, tomorrow afternoon. Oh, it's gonna be a while. You're gonna be here for 4 or 5 days. Woo, time off. It's not gonna take 4 hours. It's gonna take longer. And we don't need to project the entire arm. Actually, only need to project enough that the arm that connect to the cells that keep going. So you could project, let's say, you know, like a disc that's, you know, this thick and that round of your arm. So you don't need to project that much space to do this. You can do it very small bits. You can grow in bits. You can do it in sessions. So the technology that we're talking about doing will be able to grow back someone's limbs, arms, legs, whatever. But it will probably take a number of sessions over a period of days or weeks. But I say, so what? Because you're still going to get to grow people's arms and legs back. And I want to be perfectly clear. I want to be perfectly clear that as much as I would love to give you all access to this technology right away, the people who get in line first, okay, are all the veterans who've had their arms and legs blown off. I got mine back. It's not fair that we have the technology that could give theirs back, and we say, no, we don't have that, and not give them their arms and legs back when we can. I think that's bullshit. And if I have anything to say about it, I'm going to make sure they get their arms and legs back. No, don't applaud yet. Applaud when I do it. Then you can give me a rousing round of applause when it happens. Until then, just be hopeful and, like, go Randy, right? Yeah, go team, and we'll get it done. Yes.
Thank you, Randy. What would be the implications for disease like leukemia and cancer?
So basically, we're talking about the ability to cure and restore any cellular biological process to blueprint perfection in a matter of hours or days.
So
anything.
Nothing left.
In fact, things like cancer, leukemia, that's going to be easier stuff. Like, the hardest things are going to be growing back limbs. That's going to take the most time to rebuild new tissue. Anytime you just have to, like, tell old tissue to, like, get better, like, that happens pretty quickly. So anytime you're dealing with tissue that's already there, you're going to be able to clean that up in no time. They used to give us a wild cocktail of drugs. Mostly, you know, it's considered physical performance drugs. So your liver would go out about every 5 to 6 weeks. And so you would get regular, you know, testing to see how your liver was doing. And then when it would be about time that your liver is about to go out, they would say, no, your, you know, numbers are down. You got to come in and get your liver reconditioned. So in some cases, you could go out in an afternoon or a day of combat, And depending on how much you were, I mean, we had these injectors inside the suits that would go right into your leg. So depending on how much you're getting, I mean, you could knock out your kidneys or your liver in an afternoon or in a day. I mean, the drugs were that intense and were that physically damaging. But they have, again, this is the technology to fix this like that. So who cares? Sure, we're going to ruin your liver. It's a new one.
You could restore damaged organs instead of little children who need organ transplants. We could just restore their organs to full functionality, and they could live, a full healthy life like that. So this technology is the most exciting to me because we're this close. We're this close to being able to actually make it a reality. And being able to make this technology a reality means being able to do away with archaic dark ages medical technology that we live in right now and actually enter the 21st, 22nd century by bringing real modern futuristic medical technology to our civilization, which would bring us up to par and up to match with the other intergalactic civilizations who don't cut people's arms off, tear people open to replace organs, and give people drugs to fix things. They have this technology because it's cheaper, faster, less invasive, less traumatic. It just works better, costs less money. So we're talking about the ability, once we have this technology developed, it's not even going to be the cost of one MRI, you can build 50 of these, medical regenerating beds. I mean, the cost difference is staggering. So what you would get cost benefit wise changes this ever burdening medical system that's becoming this increasing percentage of GDP every year. And we can go from an increasing, we're almost up to 20% GDP as our healthcare costs. We can crank that right back down into single digits with a technology that's faster, easier, and less expensive, and cures everything. Everything, blindness, deafness, limbs that are damaged, limbs that are gone, organs that are damaged, neurological diseases, genetic disorders. It could absolutely fix and cure every single thing, even the things that our modern medical science can't affect or touch or do anything about right now. And it would be cheaper and more cost effective and faster. Easily doable. You just have to conform the projected image to that. So if you just want the projected image of your 30-year-old body and you are in treatments for that, long enough, as long as it takes to sort of do that, yeah, you can restore all your cells to when you were 30 or 18 if you really wanted to. Yeah, essentially you can take all of this ridiculous industry around rejuvenation, creams and techniques and things, and actually do something that works on a cellular level. And so instead of, convincing people that they need to buy more creams, you actually just have a technology that works. Yeah. This would also be the gateway to, changing, and this is really, I think, an opportunity, because we can really get away from this transhumanist sort of thing where we think that we need to make robots and then transport ourselves into robot bodies because that's how we can live forever. Well, with this technology, you can keep rejuvenating your physical body for centuries. So we could start living for centuries just based on the ability to keep rejuvenating our bodies on a regular basis. So we don't need to go into robot bodies. We could use this holographic regenerating technology to just live for centuries. The sort of tool. However, in order for the tool to be used at its fastest acceleration, they do pump in some raw fluids and some raw aminos into the physical areas so your body can reconstruct faster. If they didn't do that, it would just take your body a lot longer to continue to rebuild and regrow those cells one at a time. So to accelerate that process, they do pump some extra fluids into it. Fully expect it as a technology that if someone else isn't willing to bring to us, we'll get to eventually. We'll bring it to everyone eventually, because it's not that hard, and we sort of know how the basis of it works. And I really just need time, money and engineers to put on the project and make it happen. I know people who are very excited about the project, and as soon as I can afford to pay them salaries, they will be working 24/7, 365 to make it happen. So yeah, I would say that the fact that you still have an energetic hand or an energetic body in there is, you know, maybe why your hand's going to still regrow down there, but we're basically just using an external crutch, if you will, or an external augmentation of that essentially takes over something. I mean, if you were enlightened enough to go, oh, my energy body is still there, I'm just going to regrow my arm, then you could. But if you're not quite there, then, you know, it's a piece of technology that says, we got this, we'll do it. It's not as rocket surgery as some people might think it is. And so the two basic components of that technology to make it work are a computer software that essentially you can enter in a genetic code and it will create a CGI model of that genetic code for you, which some smart university scientists did a couple years ago. Crudely, it's not the resolution that we would require, but that software has been created. So I can tell you from a development standpoint, not having to start at square one and develop that software from the get-go, basically being able to adapt someone who's already made that software and just focus on getting better resolution, that's a much more doable task. That's something that, you know, we can sort of predict a time span. Once we can dedicate time engineers, you know, to that task, we expect within a certain time frame of years, not decades, that we'll have solutions for the resolution that we need for that component. The other component essentially is a holographic projecting lens. And we have those. We have pretty good holographic projectors. What we don't have is something that can project to the resolution of cellular level. I'm going to tell you right now that 90% of any of the company, 99% of any company or engineers that tried to undertake that task without knowing a couple other secrets that you need to know about the configuration of that holographic lens, believe me, they are not going to be able to replicate the technology from just those two things. But once you understand the special properties about that lens that need to be special, and you can get the resolution that you need, and you have the computer program that gets you the resolution you need, then you're basically able to project a very, very small, high-resolution image and recode a very, very high-density area in a very small space, and so you're able to make very, very small, high-resolution adjustments about that size. So then you can start to rebuild, you know, a finger, start to build, you know, an arm slowly in a little spiral as, you know, comes around. So it's a very slow process at this point because you're working on very, very tiny parts of the body. But that's, oh, we did it. Hey. From that point, the technology to get more precise, better, you know, bigger spread, more power, you know, a higher powered computer to give you, you know, more coding per image that you can make per second, per centimeter, and all these issues that you have to think about in the engineering. And then essentially you've got the ability to restore any damaged organ, fix the cellular structure, chemical structure of any body. So all forms of heavy metal poisoning, every kind of bacteria toxicity, blah, 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 could all be straightened out. Damaged organs of any kind can be completely restored. And the big one is, of course, the Rosetta Stone of medicine, regrowing limbs. You know, modern medicine is yet to be able to, you know, say, well, we can put a limb back on that's been blown off. I mean, we're great with prosthetics, and we're just going to get better and better with prosthetics if that's what we focus on. But I think we can just grow stuff back, and it's actually cheaper, faster, easier, to be honest. There's less time, energy, resources, and dollars that would go into regrowing someone's arm than building a robot arm for that person and putting a robot arm on them. So in the end, and it turns out that when you've done all of that, and this is things that I know from what we know about the med beds that the military gets from the contractors that they contract for, and the ones that they build themselves, that we're not allowed to have one, but I'm allowed to take what I know and make one. That's the loophole, right? The materials cost, what goes into it, you're talking about an end product that is less than a quarter of the cost of an MRI machine, something that you're going to be able to create for a fraction of the cost of an MRI machine, and that can fix anything over a period of time. Then you start to be able to address everything that's the most serious
everything that's the most critical. Obviously, you know, terminal children's medicine and organ transplants for children and so forth. But eventually you get to a place where not only can you fix everything, but cellular regeneration for life extension is just not even complicated at that point. When you're done with all of that research and development, this very, very low cost medical solution that fixes everything, which when you start to look at the entire medical structure of here are the problems, here are the costs and solutions for those problems, and you know what those charts sort of look like, and when you can make all of that go away and go, here's a stack of problems, and they can all be dealt with this one thing that costs this much, then you know all the medical problems, you know, are dealt with a GDP that's like this instead of one that's, you know, going to break our spine if it gets up to 23%. It's essentially, we feel that pharmacology, surgery, prosthetics, dead end. It's a dead end of medical technology in the sense that if you just keep going down that road, the cost, the exponential cost of those things versus the benefit, it just outweighs, and it becomes completely pointless to continue to pursue that kind of medical technology. So we think at some point you just have to go, we're not doing leeches anymore, and we're going to do this instead, you know, and just transitioning to something that's way better and cheaper and more effective and, you know, fixes everything. The parts and the components that we're going to need to put together and how they need to be put together, what we're mostly waiting for at the moment is to resolve some other projects to get paid for so that we can put money in the research and development. Actually, what it just comes down to is when we're able to get paid for a few other things that we're working on, we will be able to actually hire engineers. And that's really where, you know, when I hire 5 engineers and I say, here's your job, here's what we're doing, and we go over everything that I know and that then get to teach them, and you know, as we research what we know in the public sphere and as we start to break down all that information like a team of engineers would. So at this point, we're like waiting for the funding to come from something else that we're waiting to finish. But we don't expect that that's going to be 5 years down the road. We expect within 24 months that I will have engineers working on the process. We expect less than a decade to have a functional model that can pass muster and work on a person.
These things will happen within a number of years because let's just say we're in what I would say are the very early stages of all of the research and development of this technology and other technologies to make them a reality and to make them happen. So, you know, the fact that we know that these two technologies exist, that we just have to refine the resolution of, you know, I've already had conversations with engineers, software engineers, and technical engineers on, you know, where's the starting point for understanding these technologies and getting the better resolution out of them, which is where you have to start. So we're going to get this stuff done in a matter of years. So I don't think that we have no intention of partnering with people who are going to drag their heels on this technology. If there's anything I've learned from watching people try and integrate and bring other technologies to the civilian world, for example, Dr. Tom Bearden, who I love to pieces, and his motionless electromagnetic generator. It's one of the most amazing electron pumps, energy-saving devices that he got a patent for. It's out there. It should be being able to be mass manufactured by now, but watching how his progress has been hampered by all of these industries who either didn't really understand the project or had no interest in wanting to make the project go forward, and how that's taken something that should have been in production back in 2004, you know, a year after he got the patent on it, instead of over 10 years later and still not having a mainline production model of an electron pump that's the size of a bread box that can pump out 10 kilowatts. You know, we could be done and off the grid with the MEG if that had just gone, if they had been able to go forward. So learning the lessons of not partnering with people who are going to not make your idea go faster. We've made sure to only talk with the people who are willing to give unattached resources to make this stuff happen, who are also very motivated to see this stuff happen and are not, you know, interested in seeing the same old at all. So, you know, we're being very specific to make sure that we're not going to be hampered in any way, and that when I have the people who are in all, you know, the smartest people that I can find to do this work, and we actually have the funding to make sure that we can pay them salaries, you know, for a number of years so that they can work on this. And I am definitely having the conversations with the people who can make all of that happen. More than one person who's very, very interested in making that happen. So, and I have no doubt that even if we don't get the funding that we need through those channels, that there are other things that are happening that will start to produce long-term funding within the next couple of years that I know would also be able to let that work out. It's really just a matter of if funding comes from source A, B, or C, whether we're talking about whether I have a working model in 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years. So it's just going to be a matter of where the money comes from the fastest. But I guarantee it's going to happen because I'm motivated to make it happen over my dead body. So it's like it's going to happen, or they're going to have to kill me and make it not happen. But I'm pretty motivated to make sure that happens because I'm as sick and tired and fed up as anybody else of people continuing to tell and convince me that, well, you don't have any other options, so we have to rip your body open and replace your spine with, you know, these plastic parts, or we have to tear you open and replace you with this, you know, baboon organ, or we have to, you're just going to die, or you're just going to have to suffer, or you're never going to walk again. I'm as fed up as anybody as hearing Dark Ages answers to 21st century questions. We should have 21st century solutions to 21st century questions, not Dark Ages answers. So I'm incredibly, incredibly motivated to make that technology happen because I think it's a game changer in every sense of the word and could just be the difference between the old civilization and the new civilization.